Hey everybody. So I am going live right now on Facebook as well as when video on Zoom for Patreon recording later because tomorrow, well, it's actually today, so Thursday, it's 1 o'clock in the morning and it is Thanksgiving. And it is a dicey one, huh? Like this is the holiday amongst a few others like Independence Day or Columbus Day that people who are in this, doing this work and becoming allies or right in the thick of it are like, eek, what do I do about these really, really, really problematic days of celebration? And 2020 is the year of hating and loving holidays because I don't think people normally think about how many holidays we have until a year like this one. Or if you're broke and you notice this all the time, it's like, oh my gosh, every month we have to, dig into our pockets deep and buy things. And how do I celebrate this? And how do I show people where my loyalty lies when I want to wear, red, white, and blue on 4th of July? So I think that this is a really it's a healthy conversation to be having, that we actively need to make sure that our life aligns and our actions align with our morals when we are presenting ourselves. But then, all of us don't always have a platform to say to people what it is that we're doing and how we're doing what we're doing and why. So I can go live and say, I'm going to eat with my family today, which is true. We're actually going to eat on Zoom. And that I also simultaneously don't really celebrate holidays and actively go, boycott throughout the year and try to make awareness about things. And I'm the person that's loud at dinner that's about, talking about this and about that. And my family actually just celebrates it as being freaking a day off, and Black people love to cook. But that's just me. That's because I have a platform. So, and I'm very clear about who I am and when I step into spaces, that's already a boundary that's understood. And that came with the price. That was uncomfortable. That was, messy for a couple of years. It makes other people still uncomfortable, but they know who I am. I am who I am. But then if you're right in the middle phase where you're becoming an ally, you're growing into understanding, it is awkward and difficult to step into these spaces with your relatives. They're like, "Oh, I thought you was woke. I didn't think you was coming today." You're going to get that type of pushback. So I want to talk through a series of easy to difficult, like medium, like easy that you can do today, medium that are like sustained efforts, difficult that might be a lot more commitment, a lot more risky when it comes to losing friends or losing family, when it comes to allyship for Indigenous people. And I am not, I do not identify as Indigenous person, even though from slavery, there's a lot of mixing of lineage that a lot of us carry from being helped tremendously from Indigenous people to get out of slavery. And then, you get googly eyes for the men who helped you. So a lot of us do have Cherokee and different things in our blood. A lot of us like to say that as Black people, and it's actually very true. But I don't identify as Indigenous. So I want to say very clearly that this is not recommendations that I'm saying from Crystal's perspective of what I want to do for them. This is me bringing to light and bringing into the space what Indigenous communities have expressed through their own writing or through their own resources that I want to show you. So I am wearing the hat as a diversity consultant because that's something that everyone understands. But I am a allyship, white allyship to Black people consultant. But of course, I care about all people, so I do know a few things about different things. So yeah, I'm going to try to share my screen on Facebook, and I'm going to be doing it on Zoom at the same time. And I don't know if I'm going to do it really well on Facebook, but I'm going to try. And I would like this to be live on Facebook because if any of my friends want me to, oh, I can't share now that I'm live on Facebook. This is stupid. I'll try to figure it out. So if any of my friends want to type in the chat, if you guys are awake and you want to tell me where you're from, and I can put into the tracker to show you whose land you're on, I'm going to be going through the whose land is this tracker that shows us Turtle Island. But still, this is something that I want to explain before we get into it. So just know that you can do that. And if you want to type where you're from already, I'll see it when I get to it, but I'm not going to be able to share my screen anyway. So I'm really annoyed about that. Yikes. So I could have shared my screen if I had done it to begin with, but I can't do it now. Well, I'm not going to stop because I like my little spiel I just got through. So anyway, I'll talk about it, and you can jump and go into your browser when you're done with this, and you can look up all the stuff I'm saying. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen on my Zoom. And then if you want to see, share, what am I sharing? Basic, excuse me. If you want to go on my Patreon, I'm going to post all of the, I'm going to post this video that's on my Zoom to my Facebook later. So you'll be able to see what I'm doing. But okay, very simple, medium level. You just became an ally yesterday. What can you do to be better for people who are indigenous on this land? First thing you can do is start changing the way that you speak about a group of people who was here first. So it's 2020. When the clock hits midnight to go into 2021, nobody should be saying Indians. No, like we're not doing that. We're not, we are better than that, and we are past that. And if I need to explain it, I will. So being called Indian people was very specifically be related to India, in that colonizers, Christopher Columbus, people who came to this land that wanted it, and there were already people here, did not have a very good view of the world, did not have a very good grasp of geography, and thought that they had found India. So naming them Indians is and was still offensive. So we're not going to be half woke and say, oh, we're going to call them American Indians. No, we're not. We're not going to take their lands, call them something else, rename them, because that's what happens with slaves. So we're not going to do that. So number one, the first thing you can do is say indigenous people, because they are indigenous to this land. If you want to take it a step further, because this might be a little harder, because when you say First Nation people, you might have someone near you that's never heard this say, what does that mean? And that's going to take more effort from you to learn how to speak about this. So if you say First Nation people, we say, well, this was a place that already had, a countryhood, and, and tribe and lands and territory and culture and food and aqueduct and systems and whatever. And we took it from them. So we are visitors on this nation, and it was called Turtle Island. So that's a step up from, saying indigenous people. If you want to try to explain why that type of effort is important to somebody who's trying to talk to you about this, you can say, look at the Washington Redskins, who were named Washington Redskins for all this time, and have a caricature emblem of a Indian person who was made to be, yellowish looking, and taking the features of an Indian person, an indigenous person, of high cheekbones and pointy nose, and taking feathers, which are used for us within spiritual, headdress, and putting it as a caricature on a very, very, very old, middle of our nation football team, and then using a derogatory name to describe them for so many years. I'm from DC or Maryland. I'm from that area. I've been hearing till now they're just called the Washington football team for so many years, for them to say, oh, we can't let this go. So that's why it's important for you to say in a moment, if you want to give someone an example of why does it matter what we call a group of people? Well, because look at what it allows us to do to this group of people when we are disrespectful in how we describe who and what they are. if everybody is other on this land other than white, everybody is American Indian or African American, if everyone is a other, it makes what the people in the center, the white people, want to do okay for everybody. Like, I know it's offensive, but this team's been around a long time, so just get over it, or just like, let's move on. No, we can't move on. So we have to have like full stop commitment when it comes to rewriting the story from the perspective of the oppressed. And that starts with us speaking to people that are close to us. So that starts with like co-educating, like across the dining room table on a holiday, to tell people, you know, to let people know what it is. Like, you got to give it to them straight up. So that's that is a mini thing you can do, medium thing you can do. This that I'm sharing for people who are on Zoom, well, actually there's no one on Zoom, but if you're looking at this recording of my screen share, I have up what you may have seen floating around. A lot of people have these whose lands one, and I'm going to go to the whose lands one second, but it's called whose lands I don't even know, but you can just put in whose land and it'll come right up, and it will show you a map. When you open it, I'll show you all in a second, but when you open it, it'll show you a whole map of indigenous territories and land and treaties, and how they've been layered to regraft in more power for First Nation people, so that they can have back a lot of the area that was taken away from them. This whole Americas, including Mexico, all that stuff was theirs. So I want to start with this one. This one's called native-land.ca. So both of these, I think, are Canadian resource. Yes, both of these are Canadian resources. And right now, I'm going to read you all on Facebook what it says on the screen. Native land disclaimer. This map does not represent or intend to represent official or legal boundaries of any Indigenous nation. To learn about definitive boundaries, contact the nations in question. Also, this map is not perfect. It is a work in progress with tons of contributions from the community. Please send us fixes if you find errors. If you would like to read more about the ideas behind native land or where we are going, check out the blog, and you can also see the roadmap. So I'm going to click this link that says roadmap so that you can see what it is that this group is trying to do. So this was on 2020. I haven't read this yet, so we're going to read it together. And it just says, for a long time, we neglected to update our roadmap. We'll try to be more diligent in the future so you can stay updated on what's new and what our plans for the near future. In late 2019, we received our first funding. This was huge and extremely helpful in taking the burden off of our founder and board members. Since then, we've been working very hard to grow responsibly and improve the way we're handling this resource. We've grown enormously. Native Land CA receives over 10,000 hits a day. Our API is in use by dozens of other applications. API is just like the way that the system talks to each other in the artificial intelligence, as well as the trading of data in real time. And our mobile apps have thousands of downloads. We are so excited for the future. So they have this roadmap here on Zoom. If you can see this, it says that we've added Spanish translation to the front page. We have a new digital communications director. Okay, Nadia, shout out a new executive director, Christine McBride. Okay, we've been diligently working on adding more Latin and South American territories to the map. And then some major current goals already underway include creating a comprehensive policy on good ways to manage sources, competing territory claims, and source checking better than we've done in the past. Hiring an Indigenous research director to add professionalism and complexity to our mapping research, and obtaining more funding to help us maintain stability as an organization in the future. Developing more technological, such as Twitter bots and more. Applying for charitable status, developing processes to manage volunteers and direct efforts. Okay, so I'm going to show you the map of what they have included here now that you know the disclaimer, because again, this is not perfect, and this is contributions from so many places that have tried to recreate where people on Turtle Island were originally by tribe, by language, by territory, and then where it has migrated by treaty. So them fighting for their land and Americans halfway acquiescing to allow them to spread into another place or be in another teeny place or whatever. Those treaties have also shaped the migration pattern of where certain groups have landed. So again, you can't just jump on here and say, oh, I'm going to do my job and figure out where I am. And I'm from Albuquerque, and I'm going to go and say that the Apache used to live here. No, we're not doing that. But you will really appreciate seeing this. I definitely on Facebook, I want you all to go over to the Patreon so you can see this after I upload it. I want you to see whose land you're on, because that's the first step, and that's the medium step in this work. Understanding that even me, I go through this all the time as a Black person, even as oppressed as I am, there are still people in this country who have nothing compared to what I have as far as opportunity, healthcare, access, recognition, and rights on the land that they were owners of. I always say that we are on stolen land cultivated by stolen people, and that is us together. So if you start to see, when you're reading BIPOC, BIPOC, which is Black and Indigenous people of color, that has cropped up this year in the wake of George Floyd, rest in peace, and all of the organizers who are trying to help people understand this on a massive level, that grouping of us together has been so essential that we are going through much of the same, I think this is worse, really hard struggles that does not stretch to other groups of people of color. And that is not a designation that we appreciate as Black people, to be lumped in together as people of color and equated that we're going through the same thing in America, because we are not. And a lot of what you're going to see here when you think about Indigenous people, if you think about Black people as well, it's the same types of issues. We've lost culture, we've lost language, we've lost connection, we've lost ancestors. So it's not the same as being an immigrant here and then having your same people group live in the neighborhood and doing your susu and doing your, doing your trading money to start businesses. And it's not the same. And I'm going to get into that another day. If you're offended, inbox me, we can talk. So this map is a really good way to try to understand that. So if you look up this, you can put in your address and it'll show you exactly where, whose land you're on. So I am going to zoom in so you can see this overlay of Turtle Island. And you see all the colors. Cheyenne here. Goshoop here, I can't say that well. Yankton here. So, and then you see also the language above. So if you turn on language, then it highlights in another type of way, Lakota, and you start seeing the highlighting of the actual language that's spoken here, or that was. So then if you take this off and just do treaties, then you can see, and I'm going to turn off territories and then turn on treaties, so you can see the history of how everything evolved to where you have different types of ownership and different types of spread. So I really like this because you can see in a major way, and especially if you zoom out, how much of a horrible piss poor job has been done in America, which is very similar to what was done in Africa. The lines were just drawn any which way, and it was whatever was convenient. And so you see, it's just super janky. So I'm going to actually take the treaties off, and I'm going to do this, and then I'm going to zoom back out so that you can see in Canada, as well as in South America, there's big groups of color. But in America, it's just like, y'all can stay here, y'all can stay here, y'all going to be inside of South Dakota, y'all going to be in New Mexico, and it doesn't work well, because they're supposed to be sovereign. They're supposed to also be getting money. They're supposed to be getting reparations, supposed to be getting health care, all types of things. And it's not being done. It's not being executed. So this is really wonderful tool that I really like. And then if you want to go on this one. This is native-land.ca. And this is, um, I'm showing the drop down of how you can involve yourself in supporting. So you can go over here to support us, and it'll open a whole entire thing for you to be able to add towards. So it says that they are looking for money to do particular things, which is like paying employees and board members, supporting ongoing research and expansion of the map in its global coverage. And in the future, our long-term goals are podcast, newsletter, regular updates. So you can see all the things that they're hoping to do with the money. And then on the right side, for people on Facebook, there's an actual monthly subscription that you can sign up, and you can click right on here to subscribe. And there's 3 levels: $5, $10, or $20. And it'll come out every month, or you can just do a one-time donation. So that's really helpful. If you're a teacher, you go to resources drop down list on the Native Land website, and there is a territory acknowledgement thing, and I'm going to get to that, but then there's a teacher's guide, and then explanations about the mobile app and the API. And then there's a territories list, a language list, and a treaties list. So let's go to the teacher's guide so you can see what this looks like. So you can look at the most recent, because I have the older one here. And then you can open the most recent. This is a 2019. And then they have the 2015 explanation of what has been changed in the last 4 years. So this table of contents shows you that there's goals of the guide, the disclaimer that I read to you all, why land acknowledgements are important. I'm going to show you the land acknowledgements in a minute. How do we acknowledge territories? How to use our map, pros and cons of our maps, and then exercises for mapping, special topics, your stories of the land, nature walks, different things that they think would be helpful for you to teach as a teacher to people that are trying to understand where we are in this journey. Fresh young minds are the best place to start when it comes to making an impact. So, oh, I have a comment that makes me really, really smile. It says, "Thank you. I'm so sorry if I say this wrong." Treasure. I'm Oglala Lakota in Ositi Sakawin, South Dakota. I live in Maine now, which is Wabanaki territory. Solidarity is everything. And I love this. And I love y'all for bringing natives into the dialogue. Natives are often erased and ignored. And this is so healing to hear. Thank you. I'm trying. Thank you for that comment. That makes me feel so happy. And I'm so happy for all the different people who have found this page, because it makes me feel really connected, because there's no way that we're all going to find each other. But when we have these moments to share, it's so special, because there's so many people who care, just like I care about you, that you care about me, and we have to find each other so we can heal the nation. Eye for eye makes the world go blind, right? Okay, so thank you, Treasure. So I am back in the disclaimers area, but then this part is really, really, really important. So why land acknowledgements are important. Land acknowledgements are a way that people insert an awareness of Indigenous presence and land rights in everyday life. This is often done at the beginning of ceremonies, lectures, or in this case, education guides. It can be an explicit yet limited way to recognize the history of colonialism and First Nations, as well as the need to change in settler colonial societies. In this context, we're looking to acknowledge the existence of Indigenous bodies in geography and how they occupy the land. How do we acknowledge the territory? Often territory acknowledges are concise along the lines of, I want to acknowledge that we are on the traditional territory of the Lakota, the nation's name you place in there. Some people may also mention the name of a local treaty. Some may learn the language and speak a few words into it. If you are not sure how to pronounce a nation's name, there are a number of ways to learn, including respectfully asking someone from that nation or from a local organization such as the Friendship Center or Indigenous Student Center. Check the nation's website. They may have a phonetic pronunciation on their about page or audio recording of their name and videos that include people saying the nation's name, or call the nations after hours and listen to their answering machine recording. Very simple, but this is also on the medium level of allyship, but we can get there. We can get there. So being able to say this at the beginning of of talks and of organizations. And I actually have, I don't think I've ever done this at the beginning of a, a workshop that's like outside of me introducing this, but I also introduce this in so many workshops, and I've never read this part right here. So I am absolutely going to be doing this, because every day we can be grafting ways to be in solidarity into our everyday life. So now, starting tomorrow, when I start my next workshop, I'm going to do a land acknowledgement. So this says, while a brief acknowledgement may work for some groups, others wish to add more intention and detail to acknowledgements. To thoughtfully prepare an in-depth acknowledgement requires time and care. You may find it helpful to reflect on a research such as questions as, why is this acknowledgement happening? What is your relationship to this territory? How does this acknowledgement relate to your event or the work you're doing? How did you come to be here? What is the history of this territory? What are the impacts of colonialism here? What intentions do you have to disrupt and dismantle colonialism beyond this territory acknowledgement, not just checking a box? So yeah, so I really wanted to read you all this. And then this is just me showing you everything on Zoom and on the mobile app of what would be in this teacher's guides and everything that I just showed you on the website. So I'm going to jump out of there. And the next site I want to go to is this. This is called Whose Land? And I think this is so important for you to do every single time you're feeling too good about yourself as a white person. Like my ancestors pulled themselves up by their bootstraps. I know that we work to everything. Every time you need to check yourself, go figure out whose land you're on, because your ancestors didn't make this. They benefited from it. And if you still are not being humble, then you're benefiting from it too. So I do this as a way to just bring myself back into my center of whose land am I on. And then this website is, I'm going to show you the homepage, but I also had this open because I wanted to talk about the acknowledgements, but I just already talked about it. So this says reconciliation is the first part of why we acknowledge. As we engage in processes of reconciliation, it is critical that land acknowledgements don't become a token gesture. They are not meant to be static, scripted statements that every person must recite in exactly the same way. They are expressions of relationship, acknowledging not just the territory someone's on, but that person's connecting to the land based on knowledge that has been shared with them. So, and then the relationship to the land. So I will say, I am actually on the Lenape Trail. And I want to say thank you to everybody who walked the trail before me. Thank you to everybody who, not as a martyr, but as a individual, lost their life on a place where we now find enjoyment. And may we always hold the grief and the joy together when we're on somebody else's land, that we have been able to grow here. And may we always be thankful for what was given in the form of gratitude that was taken away on the first Thanksgiving, that was given with love, that was given with openness, that was given with the best of intention, that was taken away. And may we find ways to reconcile that pain by the things we do every day. Ashe. So, small level, I skipped something very important. Small level, base level thing you can do, because I was going to go small, medium, large. I'm going to go all the way to large. But medium thing you can do is directly sow seeds into Indigenous communities by donating, and by also being really humble about how you are interacting with cultures and words. So not buying droves of Palo Santo if that's not your religious belief. This is part of mine, and this is I make sure that these are coming from good places. Or buying sage directly from Indigenous sellers. I have like crystals and amethysts and stuff. I have this whole thing here. But a lot of that's really important to look into, is where are you sourcing these things from, and have you hurt or pushed somebody else out by being able to benefit from the item that you're receiving? And if you don't know, I wouldn't buy that. Like Urban Outfitters on the shelf is not an appropriate place for you to be buying sage. I'm just saying. And so that you can sit it on your coffee table and just look at it and say you have sage. No, 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 no. So this article goes along with the like small everyday things you can do. It starts to be more careful about your language. So I talked about using First Nations or using Indigenous instead of saying Indian or Native American even. Now, Native American can be tricky, but I know it's hard to get out of the habit of these things. But if you craft your mind a little more to be tolerant and to be open-minded about using your words to bring power and bring freedom to people who are trying to get that, you can't liberate somebody, but you can also be oppressing somebody who's trying to free themselves, right? So like everyone forgetting at work this whole week to use my whole last name, even though my last name has been changed for like a year. But anyway, like you can oppress people by not speaking kindly in their presence, or not speaking kindly outside of their presence in the way that they want to be addressed. So this is an article that is about using the word tribe. I was in a workshop and somebody made a comment and said that we don't want to be using that in this space because the person I was with said that you have to find your own tribe. And I'm like, yes, you do, because this idea of doing this hard work, losing family, losing friends, losing people as adults, losing your parents, and just don't want to hear about it anymore over Thanksgiving. It's difficult. And so very just without even thinking, the other facilitator was like, you just got to find your tribe. And that's just the way to do it. As adults, you have to start finding people that align with how how you feel and think. And the person commented and it was like, no, we're not using that as a white person. I was like, what happened? So I went back to it's the university that hired me. I went back and I was like, can you find so-and-so's email address for me? I need to ask this person what happened. So I emailed the person and they sent me an article and I read it. I come from tribalism. I am a Black woman in America, which means I'm from the ancestors of African people. I believe in tribalism. I believe in my version of spirit and of God is that I have the presence of my ancestors with me, and that there is some type of direct and really personal guiding that I'm receiving, and that there's some type of direct and personal investment they had in particularly me doing well or doing what it is I'm supposed to be doing for the world. I don't believe in like a supreme benevolent God that's just like randomly answering prayers and like calling this person to greatness and like ignoring that one and like special favor. That's not my religion at all. It makes no sense to me. I'm actually agnostic, but it makes no sense to me to anywhere near sink into that type of thinking. But for me to think that there's a group that cares about me because I'm from them, or like Black women who care about freaking everybody, and they want me to do something and they're looking out for me when there's somebody in my way that might not be part of my tribe. I'm with that. I'm all about the tribalism. So it has never dawned on me about hearing a white person say that and how annoying or offensive it is. So this person wrote this article and I really like how I didn't even look and see what her pronouns are, but I'm jumped to it was her. So I'll just say they. So this person, I really, I really like how they write this, because it's like, aside from just being offensive and rude, it's just lackluster. It's just boring. Like, you know that you mean to say more. So don't get at, don't come to work and go straight into straight into the we're the tribe type of thing. So this person has a whole list here about other words that you can use at work, like society, people, horde, troop, family, kindreds, company, club, gang, crew, squad, fellowship, pack, all these things that are way more aligned with what it is that you're trying to say and who you're trying to probably be at work, which is calling people in and not being offensive by how you're doing that. So yeah, I really, really, really like this. And this is a resource that I wanted to share. And I feel like I had one more thing and I don't remember particularly what it was. It was not using tribe. It was the way that we address Indigenous or First Nation groups of people. Small stuff, like not saying spirit animal. Like, there are actual ceremonies that Indigenous people do to learn what spiritual being is a part of their identity that's leading them. So you don't have a spirit animal by seeing a sloth meme that doesn't like to exercise. So just don't say that. Find something else to say. Okay. So those are small, medium. Large would be full on boycotting all of the holidays that are celebrating right in Indigenous people's faces what was done to them. So just boycotting completely and not purchasing food, not purchasing anything, telling everybody who will listen why you're doing what you're doing, being able to shift that energy somewhere else, maybe fighting for Indigenous People Day in your state, stuff like that. Now, I am in a place where I have taken a selfish backseat to the large protest that I would be calling for you if you want to do that, because my family, already being an oppressed group of Black people, they tired, and they love holidays, and they want to see me, and then they want me to bring stuff, so they know how I feel. But also, I think it's not just an either or. I think it's a both and in a lot of instances. So I can also donate to organizations while still like kind of being around my family, because everybody's off. So I just have been saying to everybody who's around me, a happy day of gratitude. And I will continue to be very aggressive online with my Indigenous people posts, and the same way I was on Columbus Day, and I'll make a new meme for my social media where you can share too, that says that we are on stolen land cultivated by stolen people, because that's a shout out to Black and Indigenous together. And I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing and trying to strike a balance when it comes to being an ally. And I think that that's all I'm calling anybody to do, is to strike a balance when it comes to being an ally, and a balance within yourself, that you never get too comfortable being on the other side of the pendulum. You never get too comfortable feeling like, oh, I'm woke and I've arrived. Like, you never get too comfortable. I'm trying to stop sharing my screen. Like, you never get too comfortable to where you feel like you've done the work and the work is done. The work is never done. And anytime that you get too comfortable, you need to actively be reevaluating why do you feel like you've arrived? Why do you feel like you've made it when there's still people suffering? It's hard work. Take care of yourselves. Love yourself so deeply that love flows over. Love yourself so deeply that you have time and space to love other people deeply. That's the goal here. I think that's really the goal. It's not just that that you have all this idle time and you're just, because it is privileged to be able to think deeply about other people's issues. It's not that you have all this idle time and that you're not in survival mode and that you're not trying to, take care of you and yours. It's that you found a way to love so deep, so richly, so fully that it overflows. If you need a religious system to help you do that, find one. Find that so you can be full of love. Find that. Find the spirit. Find the guidance that helps you be full of love. So please, 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 please join me in any of the places that I have White Ally Boot Camp stuff, because I love doing this work. And when you all support me, it helps me continue to be able to do this work. In love from the greatest love. I want you all to have a really good day and to tell me what you're thankful for, please. And I'm thankful for all of you. So thank you for everybody who participated in this, and thank you for everybody who continues to help this world go wrong. Not go wrong. That was a Freudian slip. Help this world go round in the spirit of love and not in the spirit of destruction and retaliation. So continue to be loved and keep showing people the way with loving fearlessly. All right. Bye.